Good evening and thank you for joining us. My name is Ronah Nahabwe and this is Business Today, where we bring you the latest business news within the region. First, let's look at what made the headlines.
NSSF investigation series continue. Sideline Managing Director Richard Byarugaba demands to be reinstated as he condemns gender minister Amonge. And then in Bulisa, improvised by oil. Oil-induced development in Bulisa district to replenish rooted subsistence economy. Also, the East African Power Pool commitments. Member states pledge commitment to agreements, implementation to start at national level.
Now, in our first story tonight, Dr. Richard Byarugaba, the former managing director of the National Social Security Fund, has asked the Select Committee to take his reinstatement into consideration. This is because justifications for his removal were false and without any foundation.
The former NSSF MD Richard Byarugaba, who was interacting with the committee, told the legislators that Betty Amongi, the Minister of Gender, had abdicated our authority, acted unfairly and removed him from his position.
The minister, and I say this with a heavy heart, has abdicated her duties and has acted illegally with a lot of bias in rejecting my appointment and as required by the law. However, and has opted to appoint the Deputy Managing Director unconditionally.
Byarugaba claims that the minister served him with a letter on charges of improper use of the savings fund and that the fact that he had reached a retirement age. But to his surprise, his deputy, Mr. Ayota, who is 2 years older than him, was awarded this position. When the committee questioned him about the infamous 6 billion shillings, he responded that he was equally astounded when the Minister of Gender asked for the money in question because they had previously provided for the items she was referring to, which is why he refused to authorize it.
Minister said that 6 billion or 5 something, it is that one that she was talking about, not an additional 6 billion or something.
No.
She referred to that document that was the figure she was requesting for.
Not at all.
And it had been budgeted.
Not at all. Not at all. As you can see, we had already budgeted for it. So why would the minister approve and then say make a budget of 6 billion? If it was already in the 221 billion shillings, why would the minister then write? I mean, it's very obvious from the letter.
The former MD has also encouraged the committee to review the fund's dual supervision because it has only caused chaos.
Parliament should consider the removal of a dual supervision of the fund, as this has proved to be to stifle decision making and may lead to all the things I've said and lack of accountability.
The troubled Byarugaba has also asked for his position back, claiming that in the 12 years he has been in charge, the fund has grown from 1 trillion to over 17.9 trillion shillings.
To avert the reputational damage of the fund, it would be prudent. And I appeal to you, the committee, to have me reappointed on the basis of the board's recommendation. I would like the investigations to be done, but there's no reason for me not to be in office while these investigations are being done.
Earlier on, the committee interfaced with the Auditor General's office, who informed the committee that they are yet to start a forensic audit in the NSSF fund. Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Moving on, the oil-rich sub-region of Bunyolo has many entries, including Bulisa district, with more than 60 oil wells, a crucial component of the Tilenga project's major advancements. Its fate has been rewritten by the oil exploration and production operations, as much of the relief is yet to be seen in the area.
The Albertine Graben bears signs of hope for socio-economic transformation beyond Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom and its colonies such as Bulisa to the rest of Uganda and East Africa. The current induced development in Bulisa, a subsistence region conditioned on farming, fishing and livestock, reflects socio-economic transformation. Big money received from compensation by players such as Total Energies put to use.
They impacted our clothes, our crops. We had to have a disclosure. And then later on they came and paid us. Some of the money we received from the compensation, we erected buildings. Others we used to educate our children. And now we have also invested into farming. And that is the benefit we saw with the intervention of Total Energies.
Agriculture has been the primary source of income for majority residents, and the oil works that came with the exploration by Heritage and Tallow Oil initially set streams of fear for the loss of properties such as land in a place without a clear alternative source of revenue.
Those of us who are impacted, our food crops were affected by the project. And as a result, we received cassava stems. First of all, they started by giving us a training, and they brought us very good tubers that doesn't take long to grow. We also eat it raw when it's ready.
The $15 billion investment has enforced a facelift for Bunyoro region, redefining infrastructure such as roads in remote areas such as Bulisa, interlinking it with neighborhoods such as Hoima, Kakumiro, and opening up possibilities of employment, especially with the 8,000 job openings listed in the Tilenga project.
The challenge is we have the roads fine, but there are no jobs at the moment. We try to study to get jobs, but the things are not easy.
Some of those areas were not completely inaccessible. Would do walk on foot through forests and bushes and hills. Without oil, I can assure you the story would be a different one. So that's why we are very grateful to this development. We're talking about billions of dollars being invested in this area. Actually, I keep saying that, but that was never in our vocabulary here. I'm talking about billions of dollars. It's unimaginable. So it's really it's going to create a very, very big impact and very significant for this region and for our people.
Besides environmental discontent, more worry has been with the gross benefit the oil and gas sector would bring for national socio-economic transformation, especially in the face of the public finance mismanagement. According to the National Planning Authority, a comprehensive beneficial approach has been considered to ensure equity in resource distribution.
You must have been privy to the local content policy that we have in place that advocates for local participation in the oil and gas developments. But one key thing to note is that even those companies that are bidding for work, if you have, it used to be 5 staff, if you have more than 5 staff, you're actually mandated, it's a law, it's a requirement to contribute to the Social Security Fund. But now it even trickles down to even if you have 1 employee. It is a requirement, if I'm employed in your company, you actually meant to contribute for me in the National Social Security Fund. So I think that guys who are participating in the oil and gas developments or any activities in terms of jobs and all actually contribute through the institutions that are employing them to the National Social Security Funds.
The extractives industry remains one of the most plagued areas in terms of corruption and resource mismanagement. How this will be avoided shall generally rely on stringent audits. Bronya Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Let's now look at fighting energy poverty. Now, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and other East African nations who are part of the East African Power Pool are worried that the previous efforts to build national power infrastructures that can provide dependable supply at reasonable prices have fallen short of expectations. This issue has yet to be solved at the yearly conference on trade agreements. COMESA, the regional economic bloc, agreed to create a regional power market dubbed the East African Power Pool back in 2005. And now, at the preliminary stage, they envision the evolution of a fully integrated and operational energy market. Today, at the East African Power Pool conference, the World Bank presented certain recommendations that, if translated into reality, will upgrade power trade in East Africa and beyond.
Success critically depends on the trust between members and the institutions of the EAPP, recognizing that benefits of trade accrue to all countries. No single country can achieve those benefits alone. Thus, all regional power stakeholders must collaborate and coordinate to tackle challenges along.
As the energy market grows, several ministers were first to cordially welcome the interconnection and praised implementation of the commitment from a national level.
Interconnection, because to be honest, this interconnection is very weak, and we would like to work together to build a strong interconnection, even in order to enhance the whole interconnections of all of the EAF.
Going to be even more visible in the way we move to business. We appreciate that some member states have already started trading, and maybe as a challenge to all of us, we should also continue to do the same, and then Ronah intends to do this as soon as possible as we move to.
Kenya, that has been importing about 35 to 50 megawatts from Uganda, mentioned that certain member states have been operating in silos, and it's high time they started collaborating to meet the target by 2024.
Africa, we have been operating in silos. It is high time we stop operating in silos and we build on each other and each other's capacities such that we build one cohesive Africa that is going to be industrialized for the benefit of our people.
Power rationing, load shedding, and non-tariff barriers are major blocks to trade and are synonymous with African markets. When asked about how they intend to solve such issues, this was the response.
That is why we are having the East African Power Pool, to harmonize all those kinds of trade. So in that kind of trade, we'll agree that we have a platform where everyone is giving his rates, okay? So there is no one who's going to dictate on the other. You will wake up in the morning and declare you are Kenya, and you declare that I have reserved electricity, and I am charging at 2 cents.
One could be inquisitive to know how a country that has been experiencing load shedding will be able to trade electricity regionally.
Done because of the damage that vandalism has brought to this country, where power has been cut off from the generation power plant. You can't evacuate it. You have it generated, but the road has been closed. So we will say that you people on that side, we will ration power so that we give power to this equally important side, maybe their hospitals, until we restore the vandalized infrastructure.
The energy market success is expected to, among other considerations, emphasize maintaining power sustainability as power pools like these intensify investment in infrastructure powered by necessary legal frameworks. Ronah, Nahabwe, Smart 24 TV, Business Today. Let's now look at coffee blame games. Now, local coffee growers in Muwende district almost protested, accusing government of suffocating the coffee value chain. They claim that the price of coffee is set by middlemen and that the government has chosen to ignore this problem. Our reporter Pedson Mumbere traveled to Muwende district and has more of this report.
Farmers in Muwende district gathered at a locally infamous hotel in Muwende town, covered in distress and nearly protested, accusing the government of failure to regulate coffee prices, which they claim has left them wobbling in the cycle of poverty.
Man, it beats my mind finding a kilo of coffee going for 2,000 to maybe 3,000 shillings. Yet on the world market, you'll buy a product of coffee, things like Nescafe and other coffee products, men at a bigger price. Yet a cage out of which these products are made, they fetch very small world prices. So it's our prayer that actors like government, the leadership, gives a goodwill to the coffee business, that local farmers, smallholder farmers, may get the best that they can get to really boost their standards of living, to be in position to build a good house.
Uganda is ranked as a top Commonwealth producer of coffee, which contributes 30% of the country's total export earnings. However, the coffee market has been plowed by various challenges amounting to losses due to poor market prices and, to some, a passive regulatory framework. Coffee farmers in the whole of Uganda have been complaining of very many programs when it comes to price. Now we're here in Mubende district in Nabingola to assess and see the problems that these farmers are facing. But most of them are saying their prices are being determined by middlemen, and this has left them into losses, and yet they are the grassroots farmers here in the villages.
There are so many traders, businessmen that are dealing in the coffee business. Each of them come with his own price. And as a farmer, you have no choice, you must sell. Well and good, we have the cooperatives. Many of us are members of different groups of cooperatives. But even our cooperatives are not sure of the prices that we sell our coffee.
It's upon this background that Siatini Uganda intends to engage with farmers on economic, social and environmental rights for local coffee producers in Mubende district to achieve competitive prices while limiting substandard imports and still improving market access.
The whole thing around the transition, but this also requires a lot of money. Just pass down all you want. Most of the farmers, in fact, one question they were asking, where is government in all this? So the presence of government should be felt more. They are extension workers, but I think they are also overwhelmed. So if government says coffee is our mainstay, the mainstay of our economy, I think government should do much more, should put in more resources, more finances, more human resource to make sure that we get from coffee what we are supposed to get.
So the government has not come out to streamline the buying or the business of coffee in Uganda. I think I'm blaming government. The government may have privatized everything, but again there must be some control, because any person can just come with his price. You don't know how much it is sold outside when it is taken to other countries. We don't know, but the government knows because they are the ones who are regulating this.
We had a ride to John Kayengera's coffee farm in Nabingola, Mubende district. I met Nachiboka Esther, the Mubende district agriculture officer, who cautioned local farmers to be mindful of the better farming methods to realize better prices.
Our farmers do face a lot of problems within production, and the key ones is fluctuation in prices and again counterfeits on the markets, the chemical counterfeits on the market. As a leader, the government has its role in raising prices as well as the farmers themselves. On the side of farmers, we look at quality. We need farmers to produce coffee that is of high quality.
According to reports, there are several interventions, although unknown to farmers. For instance, the Uganda Coffee Roadmap by Uganda Coffee Development Authority to improve the coffee value chain. In this regard, market literacy will be jointly important in resolving many agricultural challenges. Pedison Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
The Rukunjiri District Health Officer and the entire DHO's office is currently under investigation for conspiring with private clinics to sell and steal government drugs. During an investigation by the Rukunjiri Resident District Commissioner's Office, it was found out that the office actively takes part in drug theft and sells for profit to clinics. Boxes of more than 17 different types of government medications were discovered during this operation in privately run clinics.
One of the suspects revealed throughout the course of the multiple rounds of interrogation that they obtained these drugs from Dr. Akansima Muchungzi's office by submitting requisitions to his office. She continues by saying that they place orders and the drugs are delivered.
In different days. One Sister Christine, one DHO,
We have different days of getting these drugs. Sometimes it's Sister Christine or the DHO selling the drugs to us. Then we go to the store after signing for the drugs. When approached for response regarding the claims, Dr. Mchungzi Akansima, the Rukunjiri District Health Officer, said that these clinics are constantly supported to provide health services closer to the local population. He adds that certain private-owned clinics are supported by the government in terms of drugs and medical equipment.
Some clinics get assistance from government such that services are offered faster. Sometimes if it's a pregnant patient and you tell them the money for the drugs, they say they don't have the money, which makes one lose the opportunity to help them.
Following public outrage that the government drugs were being sold in private clinics, Rukunjiri District Deputy Resident District Commissioner Ahimbisiwe Wilberforce says his office leaped into action to tighten down the increasing theft of drugs in government health centers. The complicity between private clinic operators and district health officers to steal government medications was denounced by Mr. Ahimbisiwe, who demanded an end to the practice right away.
People have been complaining in my office that government drugs are being sold to them. We shall not allow that to happen again, and we shall get the culprits and they will face the consequences.
2 suspects are being detained at the Rukunjiri Central Police Station, where they will face charges for illegally possessing government stores. Bronia Katsime, Norbert Ndiamhachi, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Away from that, 10 women from small and medium enterprises have been sent to New York City by the Minister of State for Trade and Cooperatives, Honorable Harriet Ntabazi, for a market familiarization and visit of trade and promotion. The 10 women, among the 230 women entrepreneurs, were incubated at the largest industrial research center in the nation.
Transforming Uganda's economic spectrum is partly reliant on the National Development Plans 2 and 3 that focus on transforming domestic market-oriented production. That still attracts women economic empowerment. In the initiative by Canada's Trade Facility Office through the Global Affairs and in collaboration with Uganda, 10 women majoring in craft work have been flagged off to New York for entrepreneurship skilling and market awareness to engage in international market.
We flag you off to go and talk for us. We are going to the USA and to Canada, majorly. Those are the first markets that we are going to. Now, this is a big opportunity for the women, because now the women in the market make almost more than 65% in micro, medium, and small enterprises. And what we are looking at here, we are not targeting the large entrepreneurs.
The successfully selected women shared their joy and expectations of their tour with Smart 24 Television, anticipating to utilize the chance to explore, learn more, and pass on such wisdom to others.
We're looking forward to this trip because we've gone through a lot of training, and now we are looking at how best we can enter this market, what our clients require, and yes, of course, we are looking forward to great opportunities. Only challenge has been access to market. Yes, markets are there, but we don't know what is required, who wants what. So with the trainings that we've had, we are very sure that we are going to come back with great business opportunities.
I'm really happy because we are going to get more connections with different buyers, and I think we shall uplift Uganda, since I'm a designer as well.
The beneficiaries received mentorship at the Uganda Industry Research Institute, Uganda Small Scale Industries Association, and Uganda Women Entrepreneurs Association Limited, training them in different aspects of trade such as export readiness and e-marketing, among others.
In majorly captured areas of export readiness, because most of us have been exporting without knowing what the market needs, what the market entails, what is involved, what you have to put in place before you start exporting. It's not a matter of picking products and then rushing with them to the plane. It's preparing, organizing, and making sure that what you are taking is of quality to the market that you are going to hit. So we have trained them to market online. We have trained them to send shipments online. We have trained them to connect with the buyers even when they have not gone there physically.
Although Uganda is predominantly agricultural and a subsistence economy well known for agricultural exports, the Trade Minister believes Ugandans can also tap into the craft and decor export market to increase earnings and leverage for the agricultural market fluctuations.
We were not putting an eye majorly on crafts and those home decors which the AGOA market and other markets are targeting. So we are moving forward, more especially now that we have clear markets through AGOA. We have clear markets. We have negotiated. We have products that are demanded, which we are now going to serve and are demand driven.
Uganda Industry Research Institute and other private entities have been vital in streamlining the country's industry sector and entrepreneurship with the current market demands. Monica Nabyonga, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
That story will now usher us into a short break, but don't go away because we will return with Coffee Court. Stay with us.
Smart 24, driving business.
Sky. Futimbuto, the taste of Uganda in a new international park.
He must be rich, tall, handsome, from a respectable family. He must have a maid because at our home we do not work.
Conductor Masao.
What? Obadde olobye ku ssimu?
Yamunange anti yo TV enkolera.
Nyumirwa omulembe omupya ogujjudde ebisanyusa omuli emikutu gya TV egisukka mu 8 n'egya radio nga kw'otadde ne zifirimu ng'osinziirira wonna w'oli. Genda mu App Store oteeke app ya GOTV channels ku ssimu yo olwo onyumirwe ennaku 3 ng'olabira bwereere ewatali kukozesa data. GOTV channels.
Smart 24, driving business.
I'm glad that you're still with us on Smart 24 TV with Business Today. And moving on, Uganda's main sources of expendable income have always been tourism and hospitality. The industry has been lagging behind in response to numerous obstacles for a while, at least in 2019. Tonight, in our coffee court, Fred Makubia speaks with the Professor Eddie Kuroboza to Kamushaba about the sector's growth and development.
Well, it's a pleasure, and thank you for joining us on this coffee court. This is where we ask the critical questions and questions that matter. This time around, we digest the field of hospitality and leisure in this country. Where have we come from, where are we, and where are we headed? Professor Eddie Tukamshare. He is a professor in the field of hospitality and tourism. Actually, that is what he did at his PhD, but he's also the Vice Chancellor of Utamu University. Professor, my pleasure. Thank you for finding us time to speak to us.
Thank you, Fred.
Okay. How unique is the field of hospitality and tourism?
The field of hospitality and tourism is unique because it is practical. And the issue of hospitality is as natural, is as historical as human beings have lived on earth. Even in Jesus' time, biblical times, hospitality, sharing of food, sharing of times was a critical moment in development of human society. And travel or movement, discovering new areas was part and parcel of the earlier man, moving from one point to another. Whereas before it was for economic purposes, that one is not tourism. But if you travel for leisure, visiting friends and relatives, then that is tourism. So long as when you travel, you spend at least 24 hours.
So is it a field worth, your PhD is in the field, is it a field that worth you should spend all your finances and money to study this?
If it was not a field worth, then I would not be here. I have moved or grown through the profession, and it has brought me where I am. And therefore, understanding what you want to do, what your passion is in life is important. And by the way, what you study at the university does not matter. The program you study does not matter. What matters is what can you contribute to society? What can you solve, given what you are able to be exposed at the university?
But it is through the classroom methodology that we are skilled and empowered with skills.
I agree.
To solve the problems you are talking about.
I agree, but if you are not able to identify a problem, you are good for nothing. The knowledge you have acquired, if not used in order to solve societal problems, ultimately you are contributing nothing.
So how big or small this industry is in the Ugandan context?
It's a huge, huge industry. Think a moment where you are not going to eat. Think a moment where you are not going to sleep when you travel. Think a moment where you are not going to drink. Then you will understand the importance of hospitality. So it is huge, and if we explored the potential of both combination of hospitality and tourism on its own, look at the contribution of tourism to GDP in Uganda.
What is it?
The challenge has been the effect of COVID, but before we had reached at 1.9 million visitors coming to Uganda pre-COVID. But now it is one of the industries that recovers very fast because people are predisposed to travel. We are social animals, and the moment we continue to lean on technology and separating us from each other, one of the reasons why people will be traveling is to connect with each other, and we will be paying highly in order to meet our fellow human beings.
Good enough, you said you have traveled many other places. What is it that other countries are doing better that we are not doing as a country when it comes to the field of hospitality and tourism in this country?
Yeah, sometimes I wonder why our leaders, political leaders, travel and why they don't see what other countries are doing. Basic infrastructure development, basic support for small business owners in terms of hygiene, in terms of business arrangement, and of course, order and security. Can you travel without fear, walk on the street at night in darkness when you are a foreigner traveling within Uganda? When you land at the airport is the first entry point. When you land at the airport, what mental picture do you form before you enter or you visit different destinations? But enter other countries, we could say developed countries.
What are these countries you're talking about?
I'm talking about Germany, for example. I'm talking about Hong Kong. I'm talking about Qatar, the recent World Cup hosts. What they have been able to do in a short time is amazing. And remember, for Qatar, I will give an example. I stayed there for 7 years. Qatar started developing well their infrastructure when Saudi Arabia, UAE blockaded them by land, air, and sea. They were able to lift cows from Australia. They were able to bring in hay to feed these cows, and they were able to produce their milk to feed their population, even within the COVID lockdown.
So aren't you doing us a disservice that you've had an opportunity to travel to some of these countries like Qatar, and the lessons you picked there, we're not seeing them on ground?
No.
And good enough, this is your field as a professor, the field of hospitality and tourism.
I want to assure you that I returned in 2021, and immediately I landed in Uganda. One of the progressive entrepreneurs, the chairman of Uganda Technology and Management University, identified me when he talked to me, and I want you to visit my university.
You're talking about Professor Vanessius?
Yes, Professor Vanessius, very progressive individual. What we have been able to do in less than 1 year. Visit us at our campus in Nikungu. You will appreciate the impact exposure has when it comes to travel, when it comes to knowledge, generation, and creation. Look at our current curriculum. Then you will understand where we are going.
Is it about the curriculum, or just like you said, it's about what we do on ground?
It's what we do on the ground that is critical. And ideally, and I will emphasize this, that if we are not able to solve societal problems, then the theories, the knowledge we acquire in all the education levels is good for nothing.
Okay. Have you kindly looked at the budget allocation for the Ministry of Tourism? It is actually Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquity, though many times you only look at tourism. Have you bothered to look at the budget allocation?
Yeah, I have severally heard from one of the entrepreneurs in tourism, Amos Wekesa, complaining about the limited budget allocation to the sector of tourism and another area of hospitality. Taxes are choking up the hospitality industry. Other countries make an effort to support business growth, but within Uganda, the taxes are choking even those who put in money to invest into such areas.
Are you specific on hotels?
Hotels, yes. When I talk hotel, putting up an infrastructure is an expensive venture. And before the business even grows, URA is at the door knocking.
Because you know what they are supposed to do.
I know, but if you milk a cow that you are not feeding, what do you expect? You end up being a parasite and destroy the entity on which you are supposed to again feed on. And this is what is happening, overtaxing and limited budget allocation to promote and market tourism as a unique product, which is uniquely Uganda. We have moved through different marketing gimmicks or prepositions gifted by nature, the Pearl of Africa, and all these are good marketing prepositions, but when they are not supported with budget, marketing budget, promotional budgets, in order to create awareness in the source markets, then it becomes a big challenge. And every dollar that is spent within the country has a multiplier effect. That if somebody spends $100 today and it is moved in different areas, for example, transport. I pay transport, this transporter will buy Chikomando somewhere, which is part now of hospitality, but hygiene must be ensured, and therefore it is an interconnected industry that if one fails, then another one will not thrive.
Would you advise me to invest my money in the hospitality and tourism industry?
Yeah, it pays, because after investing and nurture the business, you are able to do simple things. It is not huge. It is not huge strategies that sustain business. It is issues like consistent customer care. Customer care, understanding who the customer is, understanding the contribution of employees within the organization. That if you don't pay employees well, they are not going to serve your customers well, and customers will not return. And return is the source of much more continuous business, and therefore it is a worthwhile investment, because there is no one point any human being on earth will fail to eat and sleep.
It's not possible in Uganda.
It is not possible. You will eat. So after here, you will go to take breakfast or lunch. You are not going to fast forever. Even for our brothers and sisters who do fasting.
So if I want to invest, like you said, you're actually preparing me to invest. What is it that I should have at the back of my mind?
Service quality. Service, service, service. Best service there is. Soft skills, communication, negotiation, taking care of your customer base.
Those are simple skills, Professor.
It's very simple, but that's where money comes from.
Sure?
Yes.
We have few five-star hotels in this country, and good enough this is your area of expertise. What explains this?
Yeah, the investment requirements, I said, to build a hotel is not a cheap thing. The standards required for a five-star hotel is different from the standards of a 2, a 3, a 4-star hotel. And therefore, it requires huge investment in order to come up with a 5-star hotel.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it that we must, moving forward, as a country, put our attentions to? And by the way, what is it that the president is not seeing with this sector? And maybe Parliament and the key stakeholders that allocate money for the sector. What is it that the president is not seeing with this sector? It is a lucrative business, very significant. Its contribution is enormous, but the budget allocation is just a handful. What is it that these probably policymakers and the stakeholders need to open their eyes to?
I think there is need to create awareness. Sometimes people do things out of ignorance or not appreciating the value of something. So the understanding or the appreciation that hospitality and tourism is an important facet in generation of revenue for the country in terms of tax, in terms of creating employment, and one of the highest sectors with high multiplier effect and covers a wider population. It will be, unless that one is done, we will continue to stample down on something that would uplift our living standards in the quickest possible way than manufacturing does. So service-based businesses is the way to go. So, and hospitality and tourism is under that umbrella.
Professor, a final message as we plan to wind up this important discussion.
The final message is that universities or all individuals involved in training should be able to provide knowledge that is applied. That if a child or a student is not able to perform, is not able to solve the organization problem or societal problem, the knowledge acquired is not worthwhile. And therefore the investment made through paying tuition, which is not cheap, will have been wasted.
So many of us who are looking for where to invest our money is, and of course, Professor Eddie Tukamushave, he is the Vice Chancellor of UTAM University, but also he holds a PhD on issues regarding the hospitality and the tourism sector in this country. This is the Coffee Court where we ask the critical question, and my name is Fred Akubuya.
Thank you, Fred, for that conversation. That conversation will now lead us to the end of business today. But first, let's have a recap of what made business today.
NSSF investigation series continue. Sideline Managing Director Richard Biarugaba demands to be reinstated as he condemns gender minister Amonge. And then in Bulisa, improvised but oil. Oil-induced development in Bulisa district to replenish rooted subsistence economy. Also, the East African Power Pool commitments. Member states pledge commitment to agreements. Implementation to start at national level.
Thank you for being with us, and as always, thank you for the pleasure of your company. If you missed this, there's a link on YouTube at Smart24 TV Live, where you can always watch some of these stories that you've missed, and you can always also follow us on our social media platforms to be up to speed with some of the latest business information, such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the like. My name is Ronah Nahabwe. Have a good night.